All right, welcome to our intermediate class today. We're going to start seated so you can get yourselves comfortable. And our theme this week is about flow and really the element of water. And our human bodies are roughly around 70% water, and the planet is about 70% water. And so we're really aligned with the planet. And just like how our bodies resonate at the same frequency as the earth, we have the same percentage of water in our bodies, and it reminds us of how connected we are to the earth. So we tend to kind of forget and live in our, in our heads and forget that our human bodies are literally a mirror of the earth. And that's a little bit of a scary thought, actually, as we look at how polluted the earth is and how polluted the water is in the air. And I know that when we take sort of samples from our bodies, they mirror the pollution out in the atmosphere. So we are connected, and what we do has an impact not just on the greater world, but on ourselves. Everything we do to try to kind of move towards a cleaner, more, a more grounded and environmentally protected place, we're actually protecting ourselves. So today we're going to really look at the idea of flow. Water, there's actually really two qualities to water. One is that water flows, right? It moves and it has its own rhythm and flow. But the other aspect of water is it can be completely, perfectly still and tranquil, right? So when we're in our own flow, when we're in the zone, sometimes we call it, or in the flow, where things just feel at ease, we're working with ourselves and the environment rather than against it, we come to a place where we feel more tranquil, we feel more at ease. So we're going to work with the breath to begin with. So find a comfy seat. It can be on the floor or on a chair, whatever works better for you. So once you get a comfortable seat, you're going to just simply tune into your breath. So breath, just if you think about a wave, the wave kind of comes up, it crests, and there's a moment before it comes back down, and there's a moment at the bottom of that wave before it comes back up, and the breath is kind of like that. So as we inhale, there's a moment at the end of the inhale, kind of suspension, and then at the end of the exhale, there's also a natural pause or suspension in the breath. So you don't have to do anything in particular, but I invite you to observe those spaces and that rhythm and flow of your own breath. You can close your eyes if you like. If you prefer, you can keep them open. And you're simply watching and tuning into your own rhythm and flow, noticing those little spaces or pauses at the end of each inhale and exhale. So with the breath now, let's add some movement. So same thing, simply observing the breath, watching the spaces between the inhale and exhale, but we'll add spinal flexion and extension. So cat-cow movement. So inhale, lifting the heart, exhale, and rounding the back. Let the chin come down. And when you lift, let the head stay in line with the spine. So you're not throwing the head back behind your shoulders, but keeping it in line with your spine so that your neck stays safe. So the way that the joints get lubricated is through movement. So here we're moving the joints of the vertebrae and inviting that feeling of flow and ease and rhythm into the body. Okay, eventually coming back to a neutral spine, so sitting up nice and tall. And then we'll do a little movement for the head. So you're going to take a breath in, reach the crown of the head up toward the ceiling, and then as you exhale, let your chin release down toward the front of your chest, and pause there for a moment. Simply notice the feeling of stretch in the back of the neck. And then we'll make little movements side to side. So the chin goes an inch one way, back to center, an inch the other way. And side to side, and you can move a little bit more to the side each time. Until perhaps, as long as it feels right for you, your chin is coming over towards the shoulder on each side. Move slowly and tune into the sensations that you notice as you move the joints of your neck and lubricate that area. And then eventually, if it feels right for you, you can make a full circle all the way around. Again, you want to be cautious not to throw your head back behind your shoulders. So you just bring it across the top and down across the front. At some point, you might go the other direction. And again, come back to the center. Let's take the hands together at the heart. Oh my goodness, hello. Go. A little pressure against your palms. Feel some stretch up into your wrists and forearms. And then take the heels of your hands away for a little bit of pressure into the fingertips. Even a little different stretch in the wrist. And then with very little pressure on the hands, just touching, we'll roll the hands around, so palms down, backs to the hands in, and coming palms up, and we'll just roll the palms down, circle around, and again, rolling down and around. And then you can go the other way as well, so fingertips in, down, around, and back together. So in, down, around. Backs of the hands, fingertips down and around. And then again, a little bit of pressure against the palms of your hands. And let's take a big breath in and reach up. And a big circle around. Let the head come down, bring the hands back to the heart. Inhale and lift. And big circle. Palms come together at the heart. And we'll lift again. Big circle around. Great. And then coming back down, arms to your sides. Got a dog that really wants to do yoga with me here, so that's trouble idea. Good girl. All right, so fingertips to the ground. We'll take one arm lifted up, breathing in, press down to your sit bones as you reach up with the arm, and then walk your fingertips away to come down to the side. We'll come back up to the center. You can bring the fingertips back and then walk them away again. Bend your elbow as you go to the side so you're not crunching your shoulder up. Coming up, breathing in, and then reaching to the side. And you could stay this time for a few breaths. Press into the arm on the ground and grow along. The other alternative here would be to walk the hand away and bend the elbow if you want to go a little further. And then let's come back up to the center. Pause here for a moment. Notice the two sides of your body and feel how maybe one side feels a little different from the other. And we'll take fingertips down again, lifting the other arm up. Reach up as you press down into those sit bones. And then as you exhale, walk the hand away. You can bend the elbow so you're not jamming your shoulder up. And then inhale back to center. Exhale to the side. You want to keep both sit bones anchored so you're not lifting the cheek as you go to the side. Good. And last time, you can stay for a few breaths. Press down into your sit bones. Lift through both sides of your torso. Soften the shoulder of the arm that's on the ground and breathe. And then let's come up to center. We'll bring the hands back to the knees and we'll repeat that cat-cow movement where we started. So inhale, arching. Exhale, rounding. Let the chin come down. Being cautious not to throw the head back as you inhale and lift the chest. Great, and let's come back to the center. And taking the arms out to the sides. And bring the hands down, in and around. So the upper arms stay in the same position. I'm working with the elbow joint, getting some movement in the elbows. You can also go the other way. So from here, come in and around. And then leaving the arms to the sides. Shoulders relaxed. You can bend the elbows a little bit if you like. Press the fingertips toward the ceiling and then press the arms away. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Jaw relaxed. And then circle the wrists here. Make sure you're breathing and hold your breath. The one way and then the other. And then reach the fingers out, palms down, wiggle your fingers, palms up, and wiggle your fingers. Good, and then bring your hands into fists, and bring the fists to your shoulders. Good. And then you can actually open your hands and just let your hands rest on your shoulders here. And we're going to keep the upper arms level more or less to the ground, and exhale, twist one way. Inhale, come to center. Exhale, twist the other way. Inhale, center. So we have to use the core to twist when we have the hands out of the way. Often we use leverage. Exhale to the side. Inhale, center. Great, and then come back to the center. Let's reach the arms up. Reach up. Draw your shoulders down, let your neck be relaxed, and then let's slowly float the arms down to the sides. Right. And then just let the arms rest on your legs, palms up or down, whatever's comfortable for you. And notice your shoulders, arms, hands, wrists. You might feel some tingling or energy from the movement. So let's flow. Right? As we move the body, we get the blood flowing, we get the circulation going, the breath circulates the oxygen through the cells, and we kind of wake up our bodies. So if you're sitting on something like I am, I've got a meditation cushion here, and I'm just going to move it out from behind me and just get it out of the way. And you can do the same if you're on a chair, you might want to come to the floor. You're going to bring your feet out in front of you, a little wider than your shoulders, and you're resting back on your hands. You want to make sure you're not kind of slumping and slouching here. So press into your hands to keep the chest open and lifted, and then a little movement side to side. So starting to move the hips one way and the other. Checking with your shoulders. So as you go one way, if you feel like there's any strain in that opposite shoulder, just lift the arm. And maybe the knees come to the ground, maybe they don't. This back arm may stay down, it might not. Just really tune into what your shoulder has to say. Just working with the hips and the lower back a little bit. Right, and then coming back to the center, and stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Use your hands to support you in as upright a position as you can. So the hands can be forward, back, or whatever is comfortable for your wrists. And then side to side with your feet, like windshield wipers, And let that movement come right from your hips. And then press your toes up toward the ceiling, heels to the ground. Lift up so you're sitting right over your hips. If possible, you might feel some stretch in the back of your legs. You can come to your fingertips if that's helpful. Just let the body come upright so you feel that little bit of stretch in the back of the legs, and breathe. Right. And then see if you can release your hands and reach up without losing that connection. Sit bones to the earth, shoulders down. You'll probably feel your hip flexors working a little bit here, or maybe a lot, depending. It depends on how tight your legs are. Good. And then let's come down. Good. And then relax. And you can bring the knees in. And either swing the legs around, or you can come over your feet to all fours. We're going to come onto our hands and knees here. Knees underneath the hips, hands under the shoulders, and we're going to lift the tail, bend the elbows slightly, and draw the chest forward between the arms. And then as you exhale, round your back, shift your hips back toward your heels, head down toward the ground. And we'll repeat that. Inhaling, finding a little bit of arch or lift, exhaling, rounding, moving to child's pose. Continue at your own pace here. And you may even come back to the awareness of the breath and the spaces between the breaths. If child's pose is comfortable for you, you might stay there for a few breaths, either with the knees together or apart. So if you want to bring your knees apart to make a little more space for your breath, you can. You can either rest on your forearms or perhaps bring your head onto your hands, and then rock your hips a little side to side, getting into the back of the waist and the hips a little bit. Lower back, getting some movement. It's nice and easy, side to side. And then let's come back up to all fours. And we'll make some circles with the hips. So you'll send the hips toward one heel, toward the other heel, and back up, finding your rhythm and flow. Size of circle that feels right for you, smaller or bigger. And then you might switch directions at some point. And then let's try something a little bit different. So we're going to make a figure 8. So you're going to come up in one direction to the all fours, and then sweep around the other way, and then back. So if a figure 8 isn't exactly what happens in your body, just find some pattern or movement that feels a little different from a circle and gets to the sides and the hips a little bit more. Great. And again, let's come back to the center. And we'll come into a thread the needle position. So taking one hand, sliding it down between the other hand and knee, coming down onto the shoulder and the side of the head. The arm of the hand that's flat on the ground, you gently press into that hand. If it feels like too much twist for you, you can always let that elbow come down or press a little more into that hand for more twist. Taking a breath or two more here. And then as you're ready, coming back up to all fours, and we'll thread the needle the other way. So sliding the hand through, coming down onto your shoulder, side of your head, pressing into really the back of one hand, the palm of the other. And if you want a little bit less twist, you're going to lower that elbow down towards the mat. And then making your way back to all fours. And again, we'll move from all fours to child's pose a few times to realign the spine back to neutral. Whenever it feels right for you, you can start to bring in downward dog. So you could alternate child's pose on one exhale, downward dog on the next exhale, finding your own unique rhythm and flow with this. If that means you want to stay a little longer, few breaths in child's pose, or you're ready at some point to spend a few breaths in downward dog. Let your own flow guide you here as to what would be good for you. If you're staying in downward dog, you might enjoy walking on the spot. So one heel down and then the other, waking up the calves and bringing some flow into the calves, some energy and circulation through that movement and stretch. Right, and then pressing both heels toward the ground if you're in downward dog. And then come up onto your toes, bend your knees, press into your palms and send your hips back. Roll your spine really long. Let your head release between your arms and then draw your upper arms towards your ears. So squeezing in a little bit. One or two more breaths here. You can certainly come down anytime your body says that would be a good idea. Right. And then we'll gradually lower the knees. Shift the hips back. And again, you can either rest on your forearms or let your head come onto your hands or onto the ground for a few breaths in child's pose. So tuning back into your breath here, and again, you might observe those spaces, that flow of in, pause, out, pause of the breath. And when we focus on the breath, it really helps to keep the mind occupied so it's less likely to go elsewhere. To use that breath as a focus. When you're ready, we'll come back up to all fours. We're going to tuck the toes under and lift to downward dog. If you have blocks and you think it would be handy to bring them under your hands to help you to step forward from here, you can do that. And then from here, when you're ready, whatever it takes, it's going to be challenging, is taking the left foot forward between the hands. You'll take your right foot then and turn it so that your toes point to the right and your heel is on the ground. Press back into that back heel, into your front foot. Inhale and lift in warrior one. And we're going to keep this flow going. So exhale, you'll reach down toward the ground. You can move your front leg straighter if you like, bending it as you lift. So again, find your own flow, your own rhythm, your own breath pattern here. You can continue to observe the spaces in the breath if you find that helpful. Next time you come forward, feel free to stay for a few breaths. Hands can be on the ground. It could be fingertips or flat hands, or perhaps on blocks if that's a better option for you. And if you feel a lot of tightness in that front leg, bend and straighten it a little bit. So you're not just locked in one position. And then we're going to have a little bit of bend in that back knee. Lift the back heel to let your body come a little forward. Walk the hands about a foot forward and lift the back leg, letting your head come down towards your knee. Breath or two here. And then let's bring the 2 feet down side by side. So your right foot will come right beside your left foot. We're going to bend the knees and then inhale, lift all the way up. Coming up to mountain pose. Exhaling, releasing the arms to your sides. So we'll keep that flow going. Inhale, lift. We'll come forward with an exhale. This time we're going to step back with the left foot so that we end up with the right foot forward. And your left foot is toes to the left, heel on the ground. And again, we'll flow in to warrior, lifting with the breath in, and then into the forward bend. It could be hands to knee, or blocks, or the ground. If it's available to you, you can straighten the front leg as you come forward. bending the knee as you come upright. One more here. And the next time you find yourself in that forward position, we'll stay for a few breaths. Again, use blocks if you can't quite reach, or even a chair, if that's a better option for you. And again, you could bend and straighten the leg. Try to let your head relax here. So there's nothing to see in front of you, though. We tend to want to lift the head, allow it to soften and release down. Stay for a few breaths wherever the stretch is just right for you. So it could be straight, it could be bent, somewhere in between. And then bending that front knee, you're going to lift the back heel, walk the hands. If you've got blocks, you can take them with you, about a foot forward, and then lift the back leg as you drop the head toward the knee. And then lower the left foot so it's beside your right. Bend both your knees. Let your chest come down toward your thighs, and you can take your hands and tuck them into opposite elbow creases, or take your arms and bring your elbows onto your thighs if, again, that's a better option for you. So knees soft, head hanging, arms hanging, or braced against your legs. And then releasing the arms, we'll come all the way up with a breath in. And exhale to release. Heels press down. So you want to feel your weight go back into your heels a little bit. And when you do that, you'll feel your thighs engage. So just enough to feel that lift in your kneecaps, lift in the thighs. Arms hang down at your side, shoulders dropping down away from the ears. The heart lifts a little. And the crown of the head lifts while the chin comes slightly down so the back of the neck stays long. Let's take the arms up, breathing in. We're going to come to a half squat, exhaling, bending the knees as if you're going to sit in a chair. And then inhale and lift. Nice and easy here, just working the joints of the lower body, actually the arms as well, shoulders. Hips, knees, and ankles are doing most of the work here. It's nice, easeful movement. Great, and we'll stay upright this time. Good, releasing the arms down to your sides. Take the feet about shoulder distance apart now. And let's roll the shoulders. So one shoulder rolls back, and then the other, let the hips swing. The head can go as long as that's okay with your neck. So one direction and then the other. Great, and then let's come back to the center. Bring your hands to your hips, and you might want to bring your feet even wider. You can find the distance that feels right for you. Soft knees as we make a few circles with the hips. Your hips might make a little noise. Well, it's normal for me. It's normal for some people. It should not be painful to do this. So if there's grinding or sharp pain in the hips, you can either try smaller circles or skip this. And then let's come back to the center. You can keep the hands on the hips. Press down into the heels. Find that nice balanced, grounded position. And then we'll draw one knee up towards, so the thigh is about parallel to the ground. And then take it out to the side. And then bring it down. Shift your weight. Lift out to the side. And come down. We'll do that a few times, finding that little bit of movement for the hips. And then bend and straighten your knees a few times to release. And then releasing the hands, you'll probably want to come, if you're on a mat, towards the front of your mat so that you've got some space to step back behind you. And we'll move into some sun salutations, sort of yoga's epitome of flow, right? Moving with the breath and linking the movements together. So again, let's find that position with the heels sinking down. That brings the hips back over the heels, shoulders over the hips, head over the shoulders. And then inhaling, lifting the arms, breathing in. Soften your knees as you exhale, come forward. And then take your hands to your shins and come into a half forward bend, coming up partway, and then exhale to release. And we'll take the right leg and we'll step back into a lunge position. So let the hips be quite low here, and think about drawing your back hip forward and your forward hip back. So you feel like you're engaged through the hips. You're not just kind of hanging out in this pose, but you're really in it. You're engaged in it. If you want a little more, you can bring your hands up onto your front knee here. Find your balance. And then if you feel like you want to work a little bit more here, you can think about lowering the back knee toward the ground and then lifting it back up. This is also possible to do with your hands on the ground or on blocks. It's going to make it a little easier for you. If you want it to be more challenging, arms overhead. Right, and then holding here in your lunge. If you've lifted the hands, you can bring them back down. We're going to step back to plank. So shoulders over the hands, flat line from your head to your heels. Find your engagement here. And then we'll lower the knees. We're going to lower the chin, lower the chest, and then allow the body to flatten. From here, you gently squeeze through the hips and thighs, press down into the earth. Inhale, lift your chest and head. Exhale, release down. Tuck your toes under. You're either going to come to all fours first, or you can lift straight up to downward dog. Hi. Thank you for helping here. So from downward dog, your right foot will step forward. It's a zoo here today, an absolute zoo. So again, bringing the back hip forward, forward hip back a little. If you want more, hands come to the knee. And we're going to lower and lift the back knee. So again, you can do this with your hands on the ground or on blocks. And if you want to challenge yourself even more here, you'll lift the arms. Okay, coming back to your lunge, we'll bring the hands down and step forward. Hands to shins, lengthening. Exhale, release and fold forward, let your head go, and take another breath here. And we'll come all the way up, breathing in. And exhale to release. Oh, that was a good one with the lunge. So let's do a few shoulder rolls here. Great, and then we'll move into another sun salutation. Hold your bed, sweetheart. Let's see if we can do a downward dog without the help of the downward dog. Inhaling here, reaching up. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, hands to shins. Coming halfway up, exhale, fold. Let's take the left leg back this time. And you can lower the back knee now. If you're not on a mat or your mat's not very padded, you might take your mat and flip it over so you've got some padding, or you can use a blanket under your knee. So from here, also if you have blocks, it can be handy to use your blocks here. Just gonna rock back, let the head come toward the front knee, and rock forward, dropping the hips, lifting the heart. Exhale. If you find that when you go back, your back hip is going way back, then you want to just wiggle your front foot a little forward so the hip stays over the knee behind you, and rock back and forth a few times. As you come forward into lunge, you might, if you've moved that front foot forward, you might move it back a little bit so that when you come forward, knee and ankle line up. And then imagine that you're pulling your back heel toward the front heel towards the back of the mat, and you're pulling your back knee toward the front of your mat. You feel your legs working a little bit here. Keep that engagement, tuck your back toe under, lift the back knee, and step back to plank. So from plank, we'll lower the knees. We're going to lower the chin and chest. And then flatten out. Press down into your hips, into your thighs, into the tops of your feet. Inhale, lift. Cobra pose. Pull back with your hands towards your hips and draw your chest forward. Feel your back muscles working here. Keep breathing. Tuck your toes under, and you can either lift straight to downward dog or come first to all fours. Left leg will step forward. Again, that's the tricky part, so take your time to get there. Lower your back knee. And again, if you want more padding, please fold your mat or use a blanket. And then we'll rock back. You can kind of estimate, is my hip over my knee? Do I get enough stretch in the front leg there? If not, wiggle that front foot a little forward. And then rock into lunge, lifting the heart. Rock back, lowering the head. Again, blocks under the hands might make this more accessible for you. Okay, and then when you come back into lunge, if you've taken that front foot a little forward, you may want to bring it back a bit, again, so that you feel knee and ankle line up in front. And then from there, imagine you're, well, not imagine, actually do this. Pulling your back, your front heel back, as if you're trying to pull back toward the back of your mat and pull forward with the front knee. You know, almost like if you did it really hard, your mat would start to crumple up between your knee and your foot. Keeping that engagement, tuck your back toes under, lift the back knee, coming into lunge, and we'll step forward. Hands to shins, lunge length. Exhale and release. Take another breath or two here. Let your head release. And then all the way up in one breath. Coming overhead with the arms and releasing. Exhaling as the arms come down. Great. Just take a moment in Tadasana now. I can feel that I worked a little bit here. Engage some of those big muscles in the body. Feel a little warmer. My blood is circulating a little more. There's a little more flow. So just notice for you what you're aware of. Maybe you can actually even feel your heart. Feel a little warmth in your body. So we're going to bend the knees now and roll the shoulders up and back as we straighten. So just really finding a nice flow, and you can even bring the arms all the way up. Great, and we can flow all the way down too. That feels good. Great, one more. And releasing the arms. Keep the feet a little bit apart. Soften your knees. Give your arms a shake. So they'll be really, really floppy. Great, and then from there, soft knees. We'll let the body swing. Let the arms just hit the body wherever they land. And then make that movement a little smaller, until you come back to neutral. And again, you can take the feet so they're underneath the hips in mountain pose. Drop down through the heels, lift through the crown of the head. Feel that, or imagine you can feel that movement in two directions. So sort of from the belly button, going down through the legs, up through the trunk. And each inhale gives you a sense of lifting. Each exhale, a sense of grounding. So take a few breaths. Inhale, and you can observe that pause there. Feel that little bit of lift. Exhale. Feel grounded through your feet. And again, it could be that little bit of pause at the end of your exhale. So a few more breaths here. Soften your jaw, your face. Take one big breath and then exhale completely. And we're going to make our way down to the mat. We'll end up lying down, so find your way down. And when you get there, knees bent, hands can rest on your abdomen or anywhere on your body where you can feel the movement of your breath. So simply tune into, notice and feel your breath for a few breaths here. Let your body settle. As you exhale, feel your lower back lengthen and release on the ground. And then we can start to exaggerate that motion of the breath that happens naturally by bringing in a focused pelvic tilt. So as you exhale and the lower back naturally moves toward the ground, press into your feet and engage a little to bring the lower back firmly into the ground. And then as you inhale, just relax, let your back arch a little bit. And then exhale, press into your feet, the lower back goes down. Inhale, relax and arch. And then coming back to neutral position with the spine, so let that pelvic tilting motion go. Bring your hands down to the mat alongside your hips, so straight arms along the length of your body. You want to make sure your heels are lined up more or less under your knees, so there's a few inches between your heels and your sit bones, more or less depending on the flexion in your knees. So if your knees feel uncomfortable, if the hip sort of the heels are in too close, then you're going to move them a little bit away. So here, take a breath in. Exhale, press down into the feet again. Feel the lower back move into the earth. And then as you take your next inhale, press into your feet and start to lift the arms overhead as you lift your hips toward the ceiling. So coming into bridge pose, and then to come out, you'll lower the arms, lower the hips as you exhale. So we're inhaling to lift and extend the arms overhead. And then exhaling to lower and release the arms to your side. You can do a few more dynamically, or if it feels good to you and you want to stay, you can stay. And I would recommend, if you're staying in the pose, to actually leave your arms at your sides. So you'll come down, you'll have the arms at the sides, you'll press down into the palms, press into the feet, and then lift the hips, pressing into the arms to help support the base of your pose, the foundation of your pose. Take a few breaths here. Knees stay over the ankles, so they're not swayed out to the sides. The inner edges of your feet have as much weight as the outer edges of your feet. You might feel your legs start to shake a little. If it feels like too much or it's a strain, then definitely come down anytime. Otherwise, we'll stay a few more breaths. And then slowly release. Once your hips come to the ground, you can bring your knees to your chest, one hand to each knee. Start with straight arms and take a breath in. And then exhale and bend your elbows to bring your knees in toward your chest. So you're inhaling, knees away. Exhaling, knees in. Continue that movement for a few more rounds. And then let's take the feet to the floor. Take the arms up towards the ceiling, straight up over your shoulders, palms facing each other, and reach up as if you're trying to reach the ceiling. Draw the shoulder blades away from each other, and then let your shoulder blades sink back to the ground, and then bend your elbows so that your hands reach for opposite elbows. So you've got a little square over your chest. And we'll start by rolling the head and the elbows to one side, and then rolling them back to center, and rolling to the other side, and then back to center. So you can go side to side like this. If you want to coordinate breathing, exhale to the side, inhale to center. And you can either stay with this arm movement and add leg movement, or you can just do the arm movement. So leg movement would be knees going one way as the arms go the other way. Everything comes to center, and then knees go one way, arms and head go the other. If that feels like too much, you can just do the arms, or you might release the arms to the ground and just do the legs. So either just arms, just legs, or both together. Choose which is best for you. A few more rounds here. Right, and then eventually making your way back to the center. Again, we'll bring the knees up towards the body. The one hand resting on each knee. And we'll stretch both legs toward the ceiling. The arms reach back behind you, towards the ground behind you, or out to the side if that's better for your shoulders. And then we'll come back, knees to chest, hands to knees. You're going to inhale and extend the arms and legs. Exhale and bring it toward your body. Do a few more like that. You may come back to that observation of the breath here in this simple pose, noticing the inhale, the space, the exhale, and then the space. Okay, and then knees to the chest, and separate the knees. Reach your arms between your legs and either take hold of your ankles, lifting the soles of the feet towards the ceiling, but keeping the knees bent down towards your side. You can hold the ankles or perhaps hold the feet, the outer edges of your feet if that's available, and then rock a little side to side. If this doesn't feel good or it's not accessible to you, you can just hold the knees and rock side to side. Wonderful. When you come back to the center, give your knees a little gentle squeeze. And we'll release the feet down to the floor. And to stretch the legs straight out. Take your arms and reach them overhead. Roll along from your heels to your fingertips. Take a few breaths there. And then as you're ready, you'll slowly lower the arms. You can let the feet fall to the sides, or if you prefer, you can bend your knees. So we're going to move into our relaxation, Shavasana. So take a minute or two to get comfy if you need to adjust, or if you want a blanket or pillow or anything that would help you be more comfortable. Take your time to get what you need. Of course, if you prefer to sit for this part, you're welcome to do that. And that might be a nice option if you're feeling a little drowsy and you want to stay alert. So as you come to settle, tune back into your breath, find that rhythm, your own unique flow. Your inhale and that natural suspension or pause, the exhale, that natural suspension or pause, like waves coming in and out. As you tune into that rhythm of your breath, allow yourself to soften with each exhalation. Let go of the effort of the practice. Come into this quiet, internal space of relaxation. The body softens. Ideally, the mind comes into that soft focus toward paying attention to the breath, but not rigidly. Letting the attention rest on the breath. And dropping down with each exhalation, letting go. Finding our own ease and flow here in Shavasana. Dropping the weight of your head into the ground, or if you're sitting, finding a centered spot for your head over your shoulders. Relax the muscles of your face, the jaw, your neck. Feel your arms let go from shoulders to elbows, elbows to wrists, and your wrists to your fingertips. Drop down through the ribcage, through your breath, to leave your body without effort. Feel the next breath arrive without effort. Let your abdomen and lower back soften. And feel the weight of your pelvis to hips on the ground, dropping into that weight. Soften the muscles around your buttocks, your lower abdomen, hips. Your thighs release and rock. Your knees, calves, ankles. Relax the soles of your feet and relax your toes. Find your rhythm if you've lost it with the breath. Inhale, notice that little space. And exhale, and notice pause. I'll share with you today a small piece of a longer chant that honors water as the primary creative force in our world. Water that inhabits our bodies, inhabits a large part of the planet, and that reminds us of our connection to nature. Yopam pushpam veda pushpavan prajavan ashuman bhavati Chandramava apam pushpam pushpavan prajavan Hashuman bhavati ya evam veda yopamayatanam veda ayatanavan bhavati Agnirva apam ayatanam ayatanavan bhavati Yogner ayatanam veda ayatanavan bhavati Apova Agner ayatanam ayatanavan bhavati ya evam veda. Tuning in again to your breath, find a little more depth with the breath, a little more energy in the breath. So you're not forcing, but breathing in a little more fully. Breathing out a little more fully. Inviting a bit more energy, and gradually you can wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe circle your ankles and wrists, or move your arms and legs, any way that would feel good. Taking a moment to come back into the flow of your movement in your own body. And eventually you can roll onto your side. Take your time. Whenever you feel ready, make your way back upright to sit. And once you come back to a seated position, find your sit bones anchoring down, the crown of your head lifting. Remember your palms together at your heart. And as you go through your day today, remembering this natural ability we have to tune into flow in our lives. We are made up in large part of water. And we can either feel our stuckness at times, or we can tune into our rhythm and our flow. And just tuning into the breath can often break that cycle of feeling stuck and allow us to come back into flow or back into the zone in our lives where things just kind of move smoothly. Namaste.